Damien episode 4, The Number of a Man. Now, I actually really enjoyed this episode. I think, like I mentioned with the first episode, it was kind of like meh. Episodes 2 and 3 I thought got a little bit better, and I think this one kind of picked things up as well. I think this was actually a pretty fun episode. Best part, I would think personally, would have to be the parts with the cop, actually. I think he's become like the best part of this series because he is the one that's gotten really deep into investigating Damien, and it leads to a lot of great moments. And my favorite thing about this character so far is the fact that he's been marked twice. So first he gets marked in the last episode. He survives. He has the dog bite and his arm's messed up and stuff. And then the end of the episode, we have him at home with his husband and his son is marked for death, and he actually experiences whatever that crazy thing was that, it's like it forms like a figure in the pool cover. And I was like, this is actually really awesome that we have this character who's targeted and he keeps making it work. He survives the dog attack, he saves his own son, and I'm assuming there's going to be some other stuff. We might just flat out see his husband attack next. That seems like the logical step. But I actually really like that aspect that he flat out survived both attacks. Well, he survived the first one. He was able to save his son from dying in the second attack. And I love the way they did. They even had the dog like angry at the end, and it like barked and stuff as it like ran off screen. I was like, that's actually kind of cool. Just a little thing. It's like, we cannot get this guy in any way so far. So I really think, step 3 is flat out, they're going to, go after his husband. But so far I'm liking his character. He basically threatens Damien. He's like, I'm going to do this every day because I know that it's you. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks about you saving a kid. It doesn't matter. Like, this weird stuff keeps happening. Yet another thing, happened even after they had that conversation. It's like, something's off with you. I'm going to do this every day, annoy you, bug you, and bother you. And one day, just the simplest little thing, you pull over, you don't have a seatbelt or something stupid, I'm gonna end you. Basically, he's just like, I'm just gonna shoot you in the face. Like, that was it. Just police brutality. Rights mean nothing because I have an idea about you. I'm just gonna do this forever until one day I get to pull you over and just moved a little bit and I thought he had a gun. So that was pretty crazy. That was very bold of him. And then Damien grew like 8 pairs of nuts in that one moment and was just like, you know what? Fine. It's like, you do that. And he's like, it was like that, and that was another reason I really liked this episode. At least that moment was definitely him. Even if he wouldn't acknowledge it, that was him embracing the darker side of his character, which I loved. And like I said, that's what I truly want to see, is him get darker rather than be a good guy. And that was a good moment for that. It's like, okay, he stepped up to me. He was like, you do that. You try to do that and see what happens. And you even tells him, like, why don't you pull your gun right now and we'll see what happens, because it probably won't go well for you. And it's like, no, it's, he asked him if it's a threat. He's like, no, it's not a threat, but weird things happen around me. It's like, not to me, but definitely to the people that are around me. And I don't think you want to do that. So I love that scene. Like, that whole little argument, I was like, I actually really love this. So I really like the copies. So far, he's become like my favorite thing about the series, because he seems like to be really the main antagonist, which is fairly surprising. And we're only 4 episodes in, but I really thought they would do kind of the priest thing. Like, they had the guy attack Damien in episode 2, and that we haven't really seen anything after that. Like, they did that and it failed. We haven't seen anything, like any clips or whatever, from that group at all in the past 2 episodes. So maybe that was just kind of like their build up, like they have to kind of regroup themselves and figure out what they're going to do because they lost their blade and that was the only one that they had. So we might get to see some more of them in the next episode or something, but maybe like that was their first thing. So here's this group, like the good side of the religious group, and then of course we have Ann and Herschel. Like I said, I'm just going to call him Herschel. I don't remember his name. I'll probably switch at some point. But, we have them as, like, the villains who are actually teaming up in this episode because they know that Anne was the one, that kind of got rid of the guy. And just lots of weird stuff and people getting gross things, and I'll get to that for sure. But just the way that they have the characters set up in these different groups. Maybe that was just their introduction to the religious guys, and so now they're setting up kind of a normal everyday character, in this cop as an antagonist, and then maybe we'll get, the big, the priest order and all that stuff coming back in a little bit later, because that's obviously like way more grand scheme than just here's a cop investigating Damien because he's involved in these weird things. So I really enjoyed that. Damien also, after they have the big argument, they do kind of try to work things out a little bit, or maybe that was before. That may have been before. I can't remember if it was before or after. But actually, I think I'm trying to remember. I believe it was after. After everything crazy happened and the guy kills himself, which once again, 1 death per episode, so that was good. Definitely thought they were going for 2 at the end with his son, but fortunately he saved his son. And so the guy stabs himself, kills himself by stabbing himself in the penis, which is crazy. But after all of that, Damien does try to be like, you know what? You're on my case and everything, but you should really look into Ann Rutledge, because she has this super secret facility, or I don't know why I said facility, but secret bookcase and all that. All of this stuff from when I was a kid, you should probably check her out because something's weird. And of course he goes, and I was a little worried. I was like, I don't know if she's gonna get rid of this guy or what's gonna happen. But of course she takes him to a place and it's totally different, and it's like, all right, well, that was easy to guess because we still haven't seen this house, but based on, especially in this episode when they walked around, I'm like, this is clearly like some sort of super mansion, because they went into a secret bookcase that had like the giant wine cellar, which I've never seen a wine cellar look like that. They basically went downstairs into a storage facility. That's what that looked like to me. So I'm like, okay, that's just insane in itself. But she has a giant mega mansion. She probably has like 12, like just over 12 dozen bookcases that lead to other secret tunnels and stuff. And I'm pretty sure that wasn't the room. It did look like it because of the stone and how they framed it, but I don't think that was even the same room that had the stuff in it. It looked like it for sure because I'm pretty sure there was something in the middle that kind of was the same location where the bike was, but I think it was just a totally different area. And I believe they did show a scene when Damien first got in that room in the second episode where they show both sides of that room, so it wasn't like that was the same room and we saw the wine cellar before, but it could have been, because that would be way less menacing. Like, holy crap, they have all this memorabilia, and then you turn, and then the other side of the room is a giant wine cellar. So it could have been, but to me, it looked different enough. But it was made out of stone, so I was like, that could be the place, and they just moved everything around. But I'm pretty sure that's not where they went to get to that entrance in the first place. But I really don't remember from the second episode, like when they went through the bookcase. I wasn't paying that much attention. Then I honestly never really thought it would be revisited in that way, where I'd have to know, like, is this the exact same place, or does she just have like another secret stairway tunnel? Also thought the cop was gonna die there because it was so pitch black. I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen, because then I'm assuming that was on purpose. But it was like, okay, it's super black. You can hardly see anything on screen. You can see like their figures barely. And I was like, I think he's about to get like hit in the head or something, but that doesn't end up being the case either. So that was a nice little misdirect there. And then what I mentioned with Anne kind of working together with Herschel, he realizes that she's, because Damien knows, because he found the ties, like, she put this in his tub or wherever it was. She put it somewhere. I'm thinking it's tub because of what happened to the girl in this episode. But he finds the tie and it's like, all right, it was her. It was definitely her. So Herschel kind of realizes, like, I definitely need to be more careful around her, and they need to work together. And we kind of officially see, because I mentioned before, he definitely had sort of this, he knew who Anne was, but it was like, does he know everything? And I could have definitely missed that, because I was doing something in the last episode when I was watching, so I was missing a lot of stuff, actually. But in this one, it's kind of just officially flat out done. Like, we need to work together, because we have everything we need, and we should be teaming up rather than trying to kill each other off, so that we can make sure the right stuff happens for Damien, basically. So I really like that. I'm assuming it was all for Damien. I'm trying to remember exactly the specific lines. They don't say Damien's name, but I'm pretty sure it was heavily alluded to that it was for Damien and whatever weird demonic stuff they're trying to do. But I like that because it'll be interesting to see, considering what Anne's kind of range and power has already been displayed as. I'd like to see what would happen if she actually teamed up with someone, how powerful she'd become, and not just in the normal sense. I don't know, as far as the, people being marked for getting too close to answers, stuff like that. Um, I don't know exactly how that's all gonna play out. Still trying to figure out the stuff with Anne, like, demon or human or what's going on with that. So now it makes me wonder about this guy as well. Like, she mentions, in this episode we actually get some backstory on her with how she lost her husband and child when she was like 20 years old. So I thought that was interesting too. That they actually gave us a bit of a human moment for her character, and just her helping some of the younger people in her office deal with the loss of a team member. So it's like, okay, that gives her definitely a humanizing quality, but who knows where she went from there. Clearly she went down a really dark path, but she could easily just be human and just, you know, maybe she was so crushed by that she only wants to bring about this sort of odd destruction, I guess, in the world. But who knows? But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Then we have a huge leap in answers for I still don't have the woman's name. It's such a simple name, but I just can't remember it. But obviously, Damien's ex-girlfriend's sister. She gets a dead animal in her bath, which is super gross. Also, I don't think anyone in their right mind would ever see blood like shoot out in their tub. Because she jumps out when she sees the blood like shoot up, and it's like, holy crap, like, and she jumps out. And then she puts her hand in it anyway. I'm like, there's no way in the universe that blood shooting out in my tub after I'm taking a bath and blood shoots out of the thing, that I'm going to be like, alright, that's over. And I'm going to stick my hand in there to pull out something gross. It doesn't matter what it is. It's got blood inside of it. It was a living thing and it died somewhere in the pipes and blood came out. I'm not putting my hand in that no matter what. But of course she does that, and she pulls out, I believe they said it was a chicken. It was like the fetus of a chicken. And I was like, that's just super freaking gross. And then her mother actually calls a witch doctor in. And I was glad that actually led to something. Because I thought it would be like, I thought it would be really simple, where the guy would just say something so she could easily be like, oh, well, he's just making that up and he's just saying whatever. And she kind of just ignores his words. But I was glad to see that it was actually like just a full-on magical thing and it worked. Everything burns up, and then the 666 form on the her sister's notepad. And I was like, I'm really glad that happened, because I didn't think it would really lead to anything 100% definitive for her, where it's like you can ignore this. So I was really glad that when it happened, it was just like, she can't possibly ignore that. Like, he just set fire to everything, and yet this notebook survived, and 666 got burned into it, but he just like everything set on fire. So I was really happy that happened, because it's like, you can't possibly ignore that. He torched everything. This isn't some little magic trick. Everything was set on fire. The fire even turned blue, so it was like it went from just a normal fire and then it got blue, which, for anyone who doesn't know, blue fire is hotter than the typical fire that you see. And even without that, the fact that it changed color in general just doesn't happen. We all know that. So even if you don't know that fact, it's like the fire isn't just normally just not going to change color, but the fact that it goes from just, it's a fire, and then it gets hotter is kind of cool and symbolic of hell, and the pits of hell, and it's fiery. So I actually thought that was really cool. I was glad that happened, and it's like, this is definitive. She can't possibly ignore that something weird is happening, and of course it's on the notebook. It's about Damien, so I was glad that was like a nice leap for her character. And she even goes to Damien in this episode, which I do believe was, I believe it was after that. I'm really mixing up where my scenes are, because of course I watched it on Monday. I'm just filming it really late, this review. But she goes to him in this episode. They don't really get too far in the conversation. Unfortunately, it doesn't really get anywhere for either of them. Damien's just like, logical explanation for this and that, and meh, whatever. So, things don't really go too far for her, but I think this is actually probably my favorite episode so far. I think this was a really good one. It actually had good stuff with the cop, him threatening Damien kind of stepping up and fighting back. They kept the, one death per episode, so the guy stabbing himself, which explains, because at the beginning of this one, I was like, oh man, they're gonna, when it first started, because they actually do the warning, like, it's mature with language and violence, I was like, oh, this is gonna get crazy, because they're gonna kill, I figured they were gonna kill a bunch of different people, but I think it was just because the guy stabbed himself in the penis. That's why they put that warning there, because they never had that. From what I remember, they didn't have that for any of the other episodes. Like, oh, there's language and violence. I think it was specifically because that guy stabbed himself in his, in his penis. So it's like, yeah, I guess for some people that's, a difference. Like either way, you're stabbing yourself. But I thought that was interesting. Like, oh, they did that, but it was still just, the one death. But I actually enjoyed this one. I think it was a good episode. Um, I don't know where they're taking the cop, but like I said, that was really like the best thing about this episode is the fact that they're really building on who he is as a character. They have him really threaten Damien. Damien kind of steps up to him as well. He gets, unfortunately the hit with Ann doesn't really go anywhere, so it's like, oh, no big deal. And then, his boss even tells him, like, why are you looking into this stuff and things like that. And he finds the clue that Damien was actually there chasing the guy in the subway, which wasn't connected until he saw that footage. So, lots of cool stuff there. Nice little jump scare that they did with that as well, where the footage gets crazy and then just random face, creepy demon thing shows up and just screams, and, jump scare. But I really like this episode, mostly because of him. But they did do some other cool stuff in there as well, like the 666 thing on the notebook, and that being so definitive, I really enjoyed. Um, the team up I thought was okay, but really it was the cop that was like the highlight of this episode. What he did, threatening Damien, and what that led to, like Damien fighting back and stuff like that. That was definitely my favorite stuff, favorite parts about this episode. So I'm looking forward to what they do with his character. I don't know if he'll send his family away because really hard to explain why he'd do that, but I actually really enjoyed this one. I think this is a great step for where the show should go. Um, really love the cop character, so I kind of hope he stays around now that he's become like a really cool, part of the show for me at least. And even if he doesn't, considering where they left things off with the 666 on the notebook, I'm hoping that this really leads into that other investigation that was clearly introduced through the promos and stuff like, oh, do you think Daniel was involved? So we have his friends looking into him as well, and so I think now we're finally going to actually get into that because it was kind of just like, oh, possibly involved and they didn't get along too well, but it's Damien, so it's not like he'd actually kill her. But now I think it has to take a bit of a leap, and I'm hoping that it does because I think this was a good clue as to how good this series can really be, and I think it's just cool, like having a character that does survive is probably one of the most exciting things about it. Like he survived last time at the end, and he saves his son at the end of this one. So definitely love that. Definitely know what you guys thought about this episode, of course. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and of course with what they did with the cop in this episode, where do you guys think they're gonna take his character? Because with him investigating everything, his boss doesn't want him to investigate. He can't really prove anything, of course, so that's like probably the biggest issue he's having is like he's getting too close, but right now he can't prove anything. Like, basically everything he has is what's known as substantial evidence. So him having the footage of Damien running after the guy is like, well, they were both running, and yet he stopped and saved the guy. The guy tripped and died on an escalator. Clearly, he saved the guy at the same time and stuff. He could put that connection together, which Damien totally lied about, which I loved because it's like he doesn't know he has that footage. But even if he put that together, it's like he wouldn't have anything on him. So I don't know how they're gonna do it where he keeps getting marked for death or his family members get marked, but I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited for wherever they take him, but I definitely want to know where you guys think they'll be taking this character, what he might end up doing, and of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.